Here, I want to show you how to rig the eye and eyelids. At first, we need to create deformation bones around eyelids, upper part of the cheek, eyebrow, and lower part of the eyebrow. For now, I'm gonna hide the parts that I don't need. At first, I'm creating single bone and setting viewport display to wire in object properties. Then, in rig properties, I'm enabling in front and axis view and slightly changing position. It will help me to define where head of the bone are, since I'm gonna change display to bendy bones. Next, I'm scaling down this bone with Ctrl-Alt-S and placing it behind face. This will be my root bone, so I disabling the deform option on it. Now go into pose mode, open rig properties and create 4 bone groups. For deformation, tweak, mechanism and control bones. Name them accordingly and set colors. I choose blue for tweaks, yellow for mechanism and red for control. The deformation leave as it is. Next, go into edit mode, duplicate this bone, enable face snapping and place joints in the corner of the eye holding Ctrl. Scale this bone down with Ctrl-Alt-S. Rename it and subdivide. Place this joint above pupil and subdivide bones once more. This amount of bones can already be used for your rig, but I want to make mine more detailed. So I move joints and subdivide these 2 bones. Next, duplicate first bone and chain, rename it and make setup for lower eyelid in the same way as upper one. I want joints and corners to be in the same place, so I'm selecting one joint, placing Shift S and using cursor to select that option. Then I'm selecting another joint and using selector to cursor. Now I need to place bones slightly deeper in the mesh. It will make automatic weights better. Bones for eyelids is in place, and now I'm gonna select them all, press Shift N and select Global plus Z axis to fix bone roll. Now we can proceed to setting up bendy bones. Subdivide bones when holding Alt, then change handle type to absolute on all bones. You can use copy to select that option or choosing handle type when holding Alt. Now I'm gonna place bones on other parts. Don't forget to rename them before subdivision. I don't need to make deformation as detailed as for the eyelids, so 3 subdivisions will be enough. Also, weight paint will be easier when bones follow the flow of the topology. Main deformation bones are done, and now I need to check if the form option on these bones are enabled. I can just select all bones I need and enable the form option when holding Alt. It will enable this option on all selected bones. Next, I place some holders to make weight setup faster. If you forgot to add left-right suffixes to your bones, you can select bones you need in edit mode, press right mouse button and in Names tab find option Name automatically. Now I need to set up handles for bendy bones and set ease to 0 on the ends of the chain. Ease in for head of the bone and ease out for tail. You can find height of the bone by looking at the position of the axis that we set earlier. Now let's set up handles. We're gonna do it in pose mode. To make that process faster, you can select bone. In right mouse button menu you can find rename option. Then you can just copy the name of this bone into handle of the next bone. Set handles accordingly to bone positions. If there's no another bone at head or tail of the bone, leave this field blank. Here I noticed that I forgot to make the formation bone on eye itself. So I just duplicate this bone, place it at center of the eye and rename it. Select eye mesh, use cursor to select it, select bone in edit mode and use selected to cursor. Then select vertex near the pupil and place cursor there. And in edit mode select end joint, place it at cursor and fix bone roll. Now we can select all the formation bones and assign them to the formation bone group. Then I'm gonna select bones for eyelids and extrude twig bones from them. Assigning them to twig bone group and renaming them using simple renaming panel add-on. Then I'm gonna make twig bones for everything else. And now you can select all twig bones from bone groups tab, disable deforming them and move them to second layer. Now I need to parent all the formation bones to corresponding twig bones. And then I can add stretch to constraint from twig bones close to tails of the formation bones. Then select all the formation bones and set volume variation in stretch to constraint to 0 and holding Alt. Basic setup are done and we can use symmetrize option. And now we can parent mesh to rig with automatic weights. After some testing, we can see that we need to slightly fix the weights. Go into weight paint mode and enable an options auto normalize and multi-paint. Select the formation bones on upper eyelid and use smooth brush to smooth weights. Now select bones for lower part of the eyebrow. Then we can set strength and draw brush to 0.2 and paint some weights for lower part of the eyebrow. And now select iMesh. Parent it to rig with empty groups, and then assign everything in edit mode to corresponding vertex group. The deformation setup is done, and now we can proceed to next part. At first, let's make simple controller for the eyes. Duplicate eye bone and move it forward. Then duplicate it again and move it in center. Now parent side bone to center one. Now we can rename bones and assign them to control bone group and move them to layer 4. Now add dampen track constraint from side controller to eye deform bone. Now I'm gonna add limit rotation constraint and adjust range of movement for the eye. And now we can select bones on the left side and symmetrize them. Simple eye controller is now done, and we can proceed to make an eyelid follow mechanism. Select tweak bones around the eyelid and lower part of the eyebrow, duplicate them and scale them down. Don't forget to set transfer method to individual origins. Scale bones up with Ctrl-Alt-S. Assign these bones to mechanism bone group and move them to layer 3. When bones still selected, I'll replace prefix tweak with MCH using simple renaming panel. Now I need to add shrink wrap constraint to all mechanism bones around the eyelid. Select one of the bones and add shrink wrap constraint to it, then select iMesh as the target. Then select all mechanism bones around the eyelid and select bone with constraint as active. Press Ctrl C and click on Copy selected constraints, select shrink wrap and press OK. Click on Pose and find an Applied tab, apply selected as rest pose. Now parent tweak bones to corresponding MCH bones. And now when we move eye controller, we can see that eyelid is being pushed by the iMesh. Now we can make eyelid follow mechanism. Duplicate eye bone and scale it down. Delete constraints from it, rename it, assign to mechanism bone group and move it to layer 3. Now add copy rotation constraint from eye deformer to mechanism bone. Then parent mechanism bones from upper eyelid to this bone. Disable Z-axis and copy rotation constraint and set lower value in constraint influence. I need bones on size follow with less influence, so I'll just duplicate this bone and set even lower value in copy rotation constraint. And then parent these bones to newly created one. Repeat same process for the lower eyelid. Having different bones for lower and upper eyelid will give you more control and allow you to adjust eyelids following separately. Eyelids following mechanism is done, and now we can proceed to the next part. At first, I'm gonna duplicate mechanism bone once more, lower constraint influence, and parent mechanism bones of the lower part of the eyebrow to it. Next, I'm gonna duplicate weak bones in center and move them forward. Assign them to control bone group, rename and move them to layer 4. Don't forget to reparent these bones, otherwise you will get circular dependency. Now I'm gonna add transformation constraint from controller to central mechanism bone. Next I need to define axis and how far I need to move my controller. Then I duplicate my controller name to name of the constraint and add a minus sign representing downwards motion. Make sure the shrink up constraint is always less than stack. Set local space and transformation constraint and adjust values. I'm moving my controller on negative value, so I need to set my values to minimum. I set in minus 0.01 in map from and minus 0.014 in map 2, all in Z axis, and then adjusting constraint influence. When everything is adjusted, I copy this constraint to other bones on upper eyelid and adjusting constraint influence. Now I select central bone again and duplicating transformation constraint, but this time I change map 2 to rotation and changing input for x-axis to Z. Then setting minus 45 degree in minimum. Now I duplicate this constraint to other bones and adjust influence. And here I got circular dependency, because forgot to reparent controller bone. Next I duplicate transformation constraint to mechanism bones on the lower part of the eyebrow, adjusting values and adding values in y-axis to make these bones move towards eye when it's closed. Process for setting up upwards motion is the same, but with lower values, and now I'm gonna set up values in maximum and without rotation. Next, I'm gonna repeat same process for the lower eyelid. And don't forget, the shrink up constraint must be always less than stack. And now controllers are done, and we can symmetrize bones. Bone setup is complete, and now we can hide the formation and mechanism bones, and make some widgets using Bone Widget add-on. Select all tweak bones, select Sphere widget in add-on and press Create. Then adjust scale in the pop-up menu. Then select one of the controllers, select Plane in add-on and press Create. Now you can press Edit and make shape that you want. When shape is done, press to Bone. Select both controllers. Make one view widget active, then find Viewport Display in Bone Properties, and in Custom Object use Copy to select it. Then press Symmetrize Shape in add-on. All we have to do is to make widgets for eye controllers. Rig is done, and now we can parent meshes with details to it, and hide them and parent to rig with empty groups. Then select main mesh and mesh with details and go into weight paint mode. Use transfer weights operation, and in source layer selection set by name. Armature modifier must be first in stack. Repeat for other meshes. And now we can proceed to the next part. We have finished bone setup, and now let's improve the formations of the eyelid. For this, we're gonna make correct your shape key. Select main mesh, go into mesh properties and create two shape keys. Rename and enable it. Then go into pose mode and sculpt your shape. I sculpting my shape on both eyes at the same time. We can see that shape keys affect both eyelids. To separate them, we're gonna use vertex groups. Create new vertex group and name it according to the site and name of your shape key. Duplicate it and change suffix accordingly to the other side. Select your enable shape key and create new shape from mix. Rename this new shape key. Go into edit mode, select area around the eye and assign it to vertex group created for shape key. Then go into weight paint mode and run smooth operation few times. Since we have correct naming and enabled symmetry, this group will automatically mirror it. All you have to do is to set vertex group and shape key settings and make drivers for them. Click with right mouse button on the value box and press Add Driver. Select controller bone, change space to local and select Z location. Open Drivers Editor and select F-Course tab. Select second keyframe and change it, in this case it be -0.01. Set same number for upper handle. And now driver is done. We can duplicate it on other shape key and select other controller and driver settings. Correct the shape keys is done, and now we can proceed to the next part. We have made the formations better, and now let's improve it even more. We can see that at certain angles are poking through eyelid. To fix it and make the formations more realistic, we're gonna use Warp Modifier. At first, create empties on pupil and on top of a cornea. Parent second empty the first one and first two eye bone. Now select main mesh and add Warp Modifier. Select empty on pupil as object from and empty on cornea as object to. Set Fall-Off to Sphere and set lower value in the radius settings, in this case it's 0.006. And now we can see that mesh following shape of the cornea. To lower this effect, we can move second empty. And now duplicate empties and flip value for the x-axis on the first one. Parent empty to the bone on the other side and set up modifier for the second eye. We finished with bones and modifiers, and now it's time for the last part. For the last part, we will animate normals for eyelid closing motion. Here, I want to make eyelid completely smooth when it's closed. For this, I will make animated normals setup. At first, create new image texture. Set low resolution and name your texture. In edit mode, select part of the eyelid. Now go into Texture Paint mode and enable Selection Masking. Then fill this area with white color and use Smooth Brush. Duplicate texture and repeat for other side. Save textures, go into Shading tab and create Mix node. Connect texture to color 2 and select value in color 1 to 0. Repeat for the second texture. Connect this nose to another mix node set to add. Use this node as mask for your main normals. And now copy the radius from shape keys to mix nodes according to the size. If you're getting wrong output, you can use invert node and increase contrast with color ramp. Also, if you have only one normal map, you can connect mask directly in the strength input of the normal map node. And now our rig is complete. Thank you for watching, and special thanks to our Patreon supporters.